Bam, son, we're
Hey,
recording.
there we go.
Oh, look at that.
I'm only here to help.
I know.
It's-
Oh.
Well,
Yeah, tears.
let's go ahead and start off, I guess. So the first thing on our agenda was, are we recording? And now we are. So welcome, team.
I like it.
Host, can you introduce this meeting, and then we can do personal introductions?
This is module 6 content meeting. Today is the 14th of April.
And you are?
And I am Tatiana and I'm the host.
How's it going, everybody? I am Victor, and I am the facilitator. And today is actually my daughter's birthday as well.
Oh,
Happy
yay.
birthday to your daughter.
birthday.
Happy birthday to her.
What's your daughter's?
I am-
Sorry.
That's okay. I was just trying to get through the intros,
Okay,
first.
we'll do that. We'll do that.
I'm Elaine, and I am the jokester assessor.
I'm Lorena. And I guess I don't have an assigned role this particular meeting, so
You're just
Oh,
here
that's
to
right.
enjoy.
Oh,
Sure.
that's right. I forgot about that. All right.
Tatiana is our also our timekeeper and submitter today.
Me. Oh yeah. Thank you.
All right.
I'm sorry.
I'm Jesus, and I am the note taker.
I am Jake, and I am today's challenger.
All right, and Jesus, to answer your question, she turned 5 today.
All right. And what's her
Yeah.
name, though? What's her
She's
name?
Gloria.
Gloria. Oh,
Gloria,
that's-
yeah.
I like that
That's
name,
my-
Gloria.
It was my grandmother's name, and like my grandmother's pretty much like my favorite person in the world. So it was just fitting. As soon as I had a daughter, I already knew. Like there was no questioning
Awesome.
it. Like who were we gonna name her after?
I like it.
All right, Elaine, you got some jokes?
You're muted.
I'm not muted anymore, right? Hold on, but I have
No.
to pull it up because I don't remember it.
it looks like your cat's playing with your ponytail.
My cat is actually the joke.
Uh-huh.
What
Yeah,
what did the fish say when he ran into a wall?
Ooh.
Ooh.
Oosh?
Yeah.
I don't know.
Damn. Is that the joke? Oh, I like it.
Damn. You got it.
What is it?
Dam, like DAM. The
Oh, like a
fish.
dam. Oh.
I tried the time joke, the time travel joke on my team meeting this past Monday.
Yeah.
It was not a hit.
Oh.
I guess my team is not as much fun as we are over here, but or maybe my delivery was not the best. Maybe I'm blaming
gotta
them, but
practice
my
it.
delivery.
Yeah.
Did they did it go over their heads or?
It did. It did. Like they were like, they gave me this like, but it is what it is.
Uh-oh.
Yeah.
We lost Jake. Oh, he's back.
There he is.
All right. Elaine, thanks for that joke. I think this is our second week in a row where we got the joke, right? Did we get the joke?
Yes.
Not the last meeting, but the meeting before that, right? Someone got it.
The previous
didn't
one
get the
too.
joke.
Mine was a really bad one, but Elaine got it.
I don't
All right.
remember what it was anymore. What was it?
Why was Tigger looking in the toilet?
Oh yeah. That one was funny. Uh,
So we're getting. I don't know if that means we're getting good at this or if we're digressing. I don't know which way.
Mhm.
But
you guys want my criteria too, my assessment?
please.
Yes.
So I said, was the discussion properly controlled and managed, and did we start and finish on time? Because I think that's important. We'll just
Well-
hope we finish on time.
We'll see if we finish on time. Yeah.
We're early.
Hopefully.
What is on time today? We're still on a 2-hour, right? Meeting.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're gonna crush that. For sure. Right,
If
I
it
mean-
looks like I'm staring at my phone, it's because I'm preparing for the worst, assuming that my computer is going to betray me once again. So I'm just preemptively getting the Zoom call pulled up on my phone here just in case.
Is that what happened earlier? You got kicked off a second ago?
Yeah, it looks like it looks like my internet went out for a half a second. It's not happening again, but there was that week where it happened like 10 times. So I'm just being prepared.
Awesome. All right. Well, our team building activity today was for us to share our favorite saying. Does anyone want to go first?
I'll go
What
first.
was it?
Our
Share
favorite
your
saying?
favorite saying.
Crap. Oops.
Well, think about it. Which one.
Yeah. Whoops.
So my favorite saying is one from the Stoic philosopher Seneca the Wise. It was a saying about death. He said, "If it is my time to die, then I shall die. If it is not my time to die, I shall enjoy my lunch and consider dying later." I don't know why I love it so much. I throw it out kind of as like a joke whenever someone's like, "Oh, that, whatever, minor inconvenience is going to kill you." So I got the COVID vaccine and I made that joke about getting the COVID vaccine. So you don't know what's in there; it's going to kill you. I'm like, I'll be fine. But it is something that I try and live by, just because we can go at any moment. We don't really get a whole lot of say in it. So if it is my time to die, I shall die. If not, I shall do whatever I am currently doing. Hey, maybe it'll happen later.
Yeah, I like that. It's kind of live in the moment, right?
Yeah.
Totally.
Awesome.
Mine's teamwork makes the dream work. I feel like I say that all the time at work. Even at home, actually, nowadays. I'm just like, teamwork makes the dream work. Come on, like we got to do it.
What's
Can't do it
what's the
alone.
last situation you used that? Like, what was going on where you felt the need to throw it out there?
Man, it just comes out so often, I feel. I'm
You're
doing this
leaving?
project at work, and it's Concur, which is our travel and expense system, and we're integrating it internationally for Italy and Mexico and the UK, and we're doing an extract into our ERP system. So we're kind of like cross-functionally working with all our teams, and I think that that's probably when I said it last.
Teamwork makes the dream work. Elaine, I agree. Lorraine, did you figure it out?
I can say one that I actually do like. If you want the rainbow, you got to put up with the rain. So
Good one.
I like that
Yeah.
one. Yeah,
nice and simple, but it's so true, right?
super true. Super true. Jesus, you want to go?
Yeah, I don't think I have a favorite saying. I kind of struggled with coming up with one. I mean, there's many different things that I've said over the years. I don't think I have a favorite one. I think people at work make fun of me because whenever there's something doesn't go right or surprised by something, I always say, like, excuse my, I don't know that it's a bad word, but I always say, "What the hell?" So I'm always like, they make fun of me at work all the time. I say, "What the hell?" But they make fun of me because of the way I say it. So that's my saying.
Well, on
You need to
that
make-
note, I guess I have a second favorite. No, get out of my office.
Lorena, can you bring us snacks for our meeting at 9:00?
Right? Yes.
Okay. We need to have Jesus, like, someone, if anyone has ever made like was a GIF, I'm not hip, but you know those GIFs, and we should get Jesus like, "What the hell?" And then
Yeah,
so we can send that out to our friends.
exactly. I like it.
Tatiana, what do you got?
Mine was, your past does not determine who you are. Your past prepares you for who you are to become. I feel like it just speaks for itself.
Yeah.
And it's just constantly improving, but not
Yep.
forgetting your failures.
Cool. That's what you got to grow on, right?
Exactly.
Like that.
Yeah, that's a kind of a good transition to mine. So mine is pressure makes diamonds. So I used to sell jewelry, and that's what my jewelry manager used to say all the time when I was like, "Man, this sales goal is kind of high," and he'd be like, "Pressure makes diamonds, Victor." Okay. I got you.
Like,
But
Oh
But
my
I mean,
goodness.
for me, like that goes into so many things in my life. Like specifically, I mean, I think about this course. I use this in one of my examples for the prompts, but like I chose this course specifically because I was really nervous about the like the meetings, and so I consciously made that choice. Like I'm gonna get uncomfortable because that's obviously what I need. Like whatever I'm the most uncomfortable with, like that's what I want to do, you know.
I like it.
Awesome.
My,
So I really like everyone's sayings.
Hey, on that note, just real quick, it's funny you say that because one of the roles that I was probably most nervous about, which was the facilitator role, I think I actually enjoyed that the most. So just kind of speaking to getting into that uncomfortable phase and crushed it, I think.
That was me about 30 minutes ago, or at this point, like 45 minutes ago. Because I was like pacing, my wife's like, "What's wrong?" And I was like, "I gotta facilitate."
My,
And she was
She's
my
like,
probably
boss.
like, what the heck?
"Yeah."
What does that even mean? I just
My,
felt like I kind of like the control of the meeting, like, push it along, get to the next section, let's make sure we cover everything. So that was my favorite component of it.
Mhm. Go ahead, Jake. What were we gonna say?
Oh, nothing. Just on that note, my boss has a saying that he tells us all the time is get comfortable being uncomfortable because that's where your growth is going to happen.
For sure. Yeah, I like the host. I can't wait till next week. I'm the host. I like that background. Like I'm still like involved, kind of in control, but like someone else is leading the meeting. Like
Yeah.
that's me. That's where I thrive. Okay, cool. So on a level of preparedness, how's everyone feeling? Thumbs up. We turned everything in.
Yep.
Yeah. Awesome. Thumbs up. We read everything. Did all our notes. Yep. All right. Cool. I think we're good then. As far as the feedback goes, so I saw the message from Dr. Chanley. We didn't turn in the recordings last week.
Yeah, the URLs.
You did?
Yeah,
I think that
I
was the last
emailed her
feedback
back,
we had.
and
Okay.
then I emailed her back right away, and I submitted them right after.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Well, that was the feedback we had. So Elaine, awesome. Got that turned in. Maybe next week we'll have some feedback, more specific. All right. Do we need any changes to the agenda? So we turned everything in. That was the feedback. We're ready. We're prepared. So.
Yep.
Yep. All right. Busting through this. Okay. So let's pull up the discussion prompts. All right. So the first prompt, everyone ready to get into this discussion?
Sure.
Let's
Yeah,
do it.
awesome. All right, so the first prompt, it was the Power of Introverts, the video, and the prompt was how much you integrate this idea into your teams in the future. Does anyone want to go first?
Yeah,
One of the notes that I had written down for this is to stop the madness for constant group work. I have a feeling that, well, with my specific team, we have we just typically end up doing exactly that, just group work, group think, and we we don't allow ourselves to be autonomous, come up with a solution on our own. And that's probably one of the things that I think I would, which is different because it seems like all of our training seems to be like, brainstorm, work together. Well, yeah, but if you're a little more comfortable being on your own and coming up with a solution and then presenting it, that's where I wrote that note, to stop the madness for constant group work.
Yeah.
But I think
I mean,
that
there's
there's
like
a difference between group work and collaboration.
Sure.
And
Yeah.
so, I mean, I feel like I'm constantly meeting with my team, but I wouldn't call it group work. I would call it collaboration. So I think it's definitely important to identify the difference between those two areas too.
What do you think is that difference, just as the challenger?
Well, I think group think is when you guys all have the same idea. And then collaboration is coming together with different ideas and building them into one.
There is the difference. And I think you're right, Elaine. And that's precisely what I mean. It's not collaboration all the time.
Yeah.
It is group think or group work. what I've been experiencing, and I don't like it. Oftentimes if I'm told in advance, like what the agenda or what we're going to talk about, then you come to the meeting prepared with your own solution, regardless of how far off it is or whatever to the ultimate goal. But I still think that we tend to do the group think. We get in there, we get presented with an issue. One person says one thought, they kind of go, yeah, that could work. And then they just kind of go with it. When there's probably other solutions, we just didn't jump into it far enough.
Do you ever challenge?
Sometimes. I'm probably the only one that does kind of say, well, I don't know if that's going to be such a great idea, but then other times I do find myself, as you know, they talked about in other chapters or modules, where I just kind of go along with it because everybody seems to be in consensus. So I back off and I
You're that way.
go with, yeah.
Yeah.
I'm guilty, sorry.
Do you think having the agenda ahead of time like helps or hurts with like collaboration or
Yeah.
group work?
For someone like me, it helps. But what
Me
about
too.
you? Yeah.
My
It helps.
personality type, I would prefer to know in advance what I'm.
I like to
what
be
I'm bringing to the
prepared. I
table
like
with, yeah.
to do my research. I like to come knowing like this is what I found and this is why I think this is the best action forward.
Do
I'm
you
not
think if you
always
did that-
quick like on a whim either, so I kind of prefer that too for that reason.
Totally.
Like I need to let it just kind of, you know, settle in my head and then come up with something.
Yeah.
Gotta let it simmer.
A little bit, yeah.
I'm not a sales guy. I can't just like
I know, I'm not either.
Yeah,
those little things ready.
I'm kidding. I am a sales guy. So I wrote something similar to what Lorena how Lorena responded. So I wrote, rather than asking the group for ideas on the spot, you know, give them an opportunity to come up with their own ideas and give them the freedom to be creative, right? And I think that's why why I think most of us agree that an agenda ahead of time helps with that, right? Because I as an example with my current team, you know, I'm finding that when I had kind of like an aha moment that, you know, and I've had situations in the past couple of weeks since being back where I'm asking them for things on the spot, and either I get no response or somebody responds and then everyone agrees, right? Which is part of the group thing, right? It's like, you know, that's not what I was really asking. I wasn't asking for one person to say something and then everyone else agree. So my biggest takeaway is, you know, give them an opportunity to come up with ideas on their own. But also the other thing that I took out as a key takeaway is, you know, we're always talking about, you know, helping people, you know, overcome some of the obstacles that they, you know, that they have when it comes to work. And a lot of times, you know, extroverts want to make introverts extroverts, and you really can't do that, right? You know, people are who they are, and if they're comfortable being an introvert, then you got to let them be. And sometimes, you know, like I said, I have my aha moment. It's like, you know, I have maybe one or two people that are not as outspoken as others. On a one-on-one, they, you know, they let it all out, but in the group, they don't say anything. And I have found myself asking them for things on the spot, you know, like, hey, well, you know, because I don't want to leave them out of the conversation. I say, well, what do you think? When in reality, I should probably let them be and not bring them in, because, you know, they don't want to do it in front of everyone because they're introverts.
What if you like? Do you think it matters if you had them, you know, prepared before? Like, let's say like everyone gets the agenda, but you're extroverts. Like, do you think it matters preparing them, maybe prepared to speak, or you're thinking it's just better to let them kind of do their thing and then come back to get their ideas later? Because then it kind of takes away from the collaboration. I think that Elena was talking about.
Yeah. I was thinking about that. I don't know. Do we have introverts here in the room who would consider themselves introverts? Yeah. I mean, what do you guys think about what Victor just said?
Hey, sorry guys.
Oh, no worries.
He just surprised me. I'm like,
Another picture.
he's talking and I can't. His lips are not moving.
Yeah, my computer or the internet was going out again, so I was like, you know what, screw it, just pull up the phone and just deal with it.
Yeah, no worries.
So I
So-
was thinking like because I think Lorena has said it, like there's some things where everyone has a mass consensus about, where even if I think like I definitely have a better perspective on this, or at least I think so, if everyone else kind of agrees, I will kind of sit back and like just let it slide, and I think that's part of me, like that's part of my introversion. Like I know other people will just let their bad ideas go, but I don't know, man. I think a lot of the times in the situation I'm thinking of, like I was prepared. Like I came to the meeting prepared to say something, and it just like I still kind of get frozen. So I would appreciate it if I'm the type of person where I would appreciate it if my leader like would have given me the opportunity to speak, like kind of would have called me out and been like, hey, well, what do you think, Victor? And then let me say it if they feel like I'm being hesitant.
Yeah. Well,
I don't think it depends necessarily on being an introvert and extrovert. And that's actually kind of something that I put in my notes, was that every person is different, and you being their leader, it's important to build that relationship and the trust with them, to know the difference between each person and to know what motivates them and how. And so, one person might prefer the agenda beforehand, and that's going to make them feel super prepared. And another one might be like, I don't need an agenda. I can fly by the tip of my wing and I'm going to be fine either way. And the other person's like, I just really don't want to say anything. I'm new. I want to sit here. I want to see how the group is and watch it, a few times before I really even make any input. And for you as the leader, it's just to know the difference between who's not engaged and who is.
Yeah. I think in my example, my team members are engaged, but I think the difference is that, like you said, you gotta figure out who they are as individuals, right? And that's what I meant. Like, if they don't like to be put on the spot, don't put them on the spot,
Right.
because then they're going to be less likely to share any ideas.
Unless they clearly are unengaged and you're trying to prove a point of like, yeah, I'm going to put you on the spot because I know you are not prepared and you don't like this.
Yeah.
Yeah, but how do you know that? That's something. Yeah, like how do you know that? Like, what if you just get a different rate on somebody?
Yeah, but sometimes, I think you give someone plenty of opportunities, and eventually as their leader, like, when they're coming to a meeting and they're not prepared. If you've sat through a 30-minute meeting with this person who's supposed to be a big stakeholder in this project and they haven't said anything, or they're just kind of like, I'm not 100% sure I'm going to have to follow up on that, at some point they need to have some kind of awakening.
Like a push.
Yeah.
Tatiana, what did you have for this prompt?
Wait, when you say this prompt, are you asking me like about like the whole agenda thing?
No, for like the video for the discussion.
The Susan Cain video.
The power of introverts.
Oh, I said it's just a different way of being social. And what I meant by that is there's a bunch of different ways how to communicate, and yeah, sometimes it can be hard to like collaborate or communicate with other people because it's like your style of communication conflicts, and it's like you could, like, why I asked you that, Elaine, was because like you could think somebody really doesn't care, but really it's just they're struggling so much inside. And it's like I feel like I could say that as a personal experience. Like when I was younger, it was so difficult for me. It was so difficult. And like kind of relating to like the whole agenda question we were going over, I would say I don't like to have the agenda because then I overthink. And then that overthinking doesn't like allow me to share. Like I feel like I contradict myself, but I'd rather just not have. I'm sure I think you guys get what I'm saying. I just rather not have that opportunity to like second guess myself, like how is this going to be received?
Well, I think your point goes back to what Elaine was saying, right? You as a leader have to get to know your team individually to recognize, hey, someone like yourself, has, likes to do things a certain way, that, they overthink when they get an agenda. So maybe they don't get the full agenda. Maybe you just get, bits and pieces of it so that, you don't get overwhelmed, but that's the part of understanding how each individual works within your team.
Right.
I had we were in a meeting yesterday. We had an all day virtual meeting, like one of those like 9:30 to 4:30s.
Nice.
Yeah, and I had one of my like leaders that work for me were on the meeting, and we were doing one-on-ones right now, and they were the only leader that I had there that had done a one-on-one, and my boss was asking like, how did they go? So I kept telling her like, hey, share something, like go ahead, share. And after like texting her for about a couple minutes like on the side, I just called her out. I was like, well, no, Alex has been on it so, in a one-on-one, so like, Alex, why don't you go ahead and share? And so kind of taking Elaine's approach a little bit, like just kind of calling them out. But what my leader had told me, or my supervisor had told me afterwards, they were like, thank you for calling me out, because I was really nervous, but you gave me an opportunity where I had the floor. But I think everyone here has made pretty good points. I think, but part of knowing, who partner that's working for you is maybe just ask them, like, hey, I noticed that you weren't that engaged today. What can I do as your leader to help you, come out? Do you need more time before the meeting to get prepared? Do you just want me to call you out? Like, what is it that you need from me? Because I think I've seen a little bit of both ways. Like, I've seen people come into meetings unprepared, and then disengage. And then I've seen some people come into meetings and just not have the time to speak up, or weren't given the time. I think I'm one of those people. Like, I do like to come prepared to meetings. Like, I like the agenda beforehand, and I want to be prepared because I want to give my best to the discussion. But if I'm not given the opportunity to speak, I won't. Sometimes.
Yeah, I definitely understand that, and I think part of the reason that I tend to like not want to jump in with my opinion is because Tatiana, you touched on it. I also tend to overthink things a lot. I want to like take all the time and make sure that I'm saying what I want to say in just the right way, and that tends to not translate very well if it's something that's kind of on the spot, or when there's a time where I haven't found like just the right words to express myself with. I tend to just not want to share my opinion, rather than serve up something that's half baked. And then just to continue, Jesus, right before I got cut out and I had to join with the phone here, you were talking about, oh man, I wish I could remember exactly what you were saying, but you were touching on how like it's, if you can't force somebody to be extroverted. And I definitely feel that. A note that I had was, if you're making that expectation, if you're trying to make somebody an extrovert when they are clearly not, you're really kind of like stripping down a part of their, sense of self, because most people know whether or not they're introverted or extroverted. And the way that kind of bleeds over into your team, if you're not allowing somebody to have that prep time who needs it, or if you're making the expectation that you want this introverted person to kind of be more extroverted, you're also sort of taking away a part of their perspective, or putting them in kind of a guarded stance where they might not want to share their perspective on an issue.
Yeah.
I kind of went over two things there, but sorry. Good
points.
Yeah. So I had another meeting I led the other day, and I tried to take some things I learned from this class. And what we did was I had everyone write notes. So I asked a question. I was like, all right, team, like, go ahead and put notes down for this question. Like, have like two things that we're going to talk about, like at least two ideas. And then we just went round robin and just talked about, like, I gave everyone a chance to talk about their ideas. And then we kind of just like, okay, well, now what's the best one? Right. And I think that like, that's definitely for my more introverted supervisor. I have one like really introverted leader on my team. And I could tell, like, I think they appreciated that, because no one cut off anybody. It wasn't like we had a fight, for the floor. There's only 5 people on my leadership team. That's including myself. So it didn't take that long to go through it. But everyone was able to be heard. So that's just one thing I tried to do.
I like
does anyone have anything else they want to add to this prompt? Jesus, go ahead.
No. I was just gonna say, I've done the same thing with a couple things that we've learned from this class that I've incorporated. Like the thing that two things have incorporated: the assigning different roles, where we previously, we have guests and people that come to our team meetings, and they really are the ones that sort of run the meeting. But I've assigned my team members with different responsibilities, something similar to what we're doing, but also the prompts that we have in the beginning, so we can share more things about ourselves individually, like the door, the thing we did about the door, the jokes, some of those things I've tried to incorporate, and some of them have worked out. The joke didn't work out that great.
That's it. We got to try. Pressure makes diamonds, right, Jesus?
Yeah.
All right. All right. So the next prompt, it was Brene Brown. I love Brene Brown. So power vulnerability. How vulnerable would you say you are in general, and how vulnerable have you been in this class team? And thoughts? Who wants to kick us off?
I said I'm not very vulnerable in general. Not sure if you guys could tell. And I would say that I've not been very vulnerable in this class either. So it's definitely something that's made me realize, it's important to maybe open up a little bit more and share personal experiences more.
Taking Brene Brown's own words, one of the things she says is like, a lot of times people are afraid to share because they're afraid of being judged. But what you realize after you share that no one was judging you, and kind of leaning into that usually helps.
Totally.
Yeah, for my experience, I used to be, kind of like Elaine, where I didn't share many things with my teams, about my personal life or, things that I did outside of work. I had like a very well-defined line between my work and my personal life. Like I shared almost none, right? And it worked in some ways because they respected me as their leader, and we got things done. But then there was a difference between some of the other teams and some of the other leaders where they would be more personable. And like I remember one of the leaders on the other team would invite their whole team to their house during the summer for things like that. And my team didn't even know where I lived. As a matter of fact, I don't even think they knew that I at the time that I had a girlfriend. I think I shared it here and there, but I didn't share many things. But then as time went by, I sort of started opening up more and more. And what I wrote on here is that I've just learned to be more vulnerable, and I have found that by doing that, sharing more things, more personal things, I found that my team also has opened up more to me. Now, with you guys, I felt like I've tried to be that way, where I've shared, things like, my views on certain leadership things, and, how I do certain things with my teams, typically, in other classes where I've had to share things, I do it maybe with the professor when I respond to something, but if it's a group, I didn't provide many examples, but I've done that more in this class, just because I feel like the environment calls for that. And I feel like it's been good, at least from my perspective.
I think the icebreakers really help too. Like the icebreakers kind of force the process of being vulnerable and sharing some more personal stories. And then the prompts.
I agree.
I'll actually piggyback off of that. I also don't think that I allow myself to be too vulnerable in any scenario, whether it's in this class or coworkers or with even friends. I'm still a little reserved. I think the icebreakers and my role as a jokester, because I am not a clown, I hate telling jokes. That definitely made me a little uncomfortable, but it's allowed me to, again, just kind of explore a side of my personality that's, probably a little more reserved. So I allow a little room for error, but I really do strive for perfection in almost everything I do. So, yeah.
So
My
let me
jam wound up a
so-
little tight.
so based on what the video was talking about how most people don't want to open up because they feel like they're going to be judged, or
Right.
maybe in cases it might not be that. It's just that you're sort of guarding yourself, which I think in my case, I think that's probably what I was trying to do, just guard myself a little bit, so that they would see me as that leader. In your case, you said how you are. What do you think kind of leads you to not be vulnerable, as yes the video says that we need to be.
A little self-protection. I think in a lot of aspects, maybe some I don't even understand completely, but I think I do shelter myself from, judgment from other people, having a strong opinion about something. I don't necessarily talk about anything too private with any coworkers,
Yeah.
obviously, specifically because of my role. Like everything's private. I keep any of those things that I might want to share personally with either a really close friend, of which I only have a handful, or my husband. That's it. Nobody else from work really knows too much about me. I go out to happy hours, I socialize, but I don't share a lot of private things. It's usually just shop talk.
Yeah.
And
Do you
I think
think
you're
that, do
shared
you
too.
think they respect you more because you don't share as much and they view you as like this leader figure? I feel
It's
was for me.
interesting that you say that. They might actually respect me more if I shared a little more, made myself a little more vulnerable, but it's not quite there yet, I guess.
Do you think that it matters that your role is more of an individual? I think you share like you're more of an individual contributor, right? Like you used to be in a team setting, but now your role is like kind of a little bit more to yourself. Like, do you think
Autonomous.
that
Yeah, it
plays a
is.
big part in it?
Yes.
Like, because almost like why
Of course.
you don't need too much teamwork. So like why would you put yourself out there? I guess.
I don't know if it's necessarily that the team dynamic, I guess, because I'm still part of a team, but I do most of my work, like you said. I work autonomously, so my contribution is, I can work from home every day of the week. I don't need to be in the office for pretty much anything, but I think it's just a personal thing.
Tatiana, do you want to go next?
Yeah. Kind of like all of you guys, I would say that I was definitely very not vulnerable, I guess. Yeah, not willing to be vulnerable. And I think you guys would say that I have been in this class just because of the things I've shared. And I think that's something I'm very aware of because it makes me feel better. Like me talking about my experiences, it just feels like it's relieving, like you're just kind of like putting it out there. And I guess I didn't really think about the whole like being judged thing, but I get that. It makes sense. But I guess for me, it's just like, I just want to be heard, like for me, active listening is such a big thing. It's like a really, really big thing for me. And if I can see that people are willing to like listen, and it's like something within this group, like I feel like you guys are very willing to, I feel comfortable enough to like share stuff. And if anything, just to kind of like put it super simple, I think being vulnerable personally has improved my life. Just to put it like that.
Well, I think something you hit on too is like, I think you said the active listening part is something that's really important to you. Do you feel like it's because if you can share something with somebody and you feel like they genuinely care, is like it's building trust, right?
Oh, definitely. It's definitely, yeah. It's super important. Just building trust, but also like having that connection, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
No, definitely. Jesus, what were you gonna say?
Oh, sorry. I just wanted to say, so as I was answering this question, I actually thought about Tatiana, about, some of the things she shared, with us. And so I thought about you and what you had shared with us before. So I was like, well, I think some of us have been pretty open and you were being vulnerable. So thank you.
Yeah.
Jake, I don't think we've heard from you yet, have we?
No, I don't think so. I would say that I am. I'm pretty vulnerable most of the time. When I am like in a position of like leadership, I tend to be a little bit less vulnerable because, kind of as Jesus, as you were saying, it feels like if you're in a position of leadership, you feel like you kind of like have to be a little bit more guarded. Like you can't show the chinks in your armor. Be like you can't show weakness to your team because then if the leader's freaking out, then what's the team gonna do? But for the most part, I'd say I'm a pretty vulnerable guy. I talk to my coworkers and my boss. I won't say like super openly, but like if I've got something that's going on that's like affecting me personally, then I don't really like have. And if I feel comfortable with the person, I guess I should say that too. Um, I don't really have too much of an issue talking about like what's going on in my personal life. And this is, I don't know if this is something totally weird that I do. My fiance, it drives her absolutely nuts. But I have just totally made myself an open book from time to time with total strangers. Um, it's weird. But and I'll tell you I've got 2 or 3 stories about it. And again, this just boggles my fiance's mind that I do this. The most recent one, I had a really bad day. My family life like blew up. My parents were going through some pretty big issues. My sister was still living with them, and she just kind of got wrapped up into it. The 3 of them were moving, and I was moving out at the time, so there was a lot of change going on in our family, and it all came to a head. There was this big, huge, boil over fight that happens from time to time. And I did not have the healthiest of habits at the time. I went to a bar to drink my sorrows away. And there was this guy named Carl there. If I recall, I think it was 76. And he was battling cancer. And he wasn't even drinking. He was just, he's going through the fight of his life. So he's just literally just hanging out at the bar, sipping water and talking to people. And just it is all flowed out of me like water. it just feels embarrassing to talk about. But it was like really comforting. Like Tatiana, you had said, it's kind of relieving to just like let other people kind of help you shoulder your burdens with you. And so yeah, I've got a couple other stories like that too, where I've just like talked to random people that I've literally just met about my like deepest problems and insecurities. So I would say for the most part, I'm typically a pretty vulnerable guy.
Jake, in that moment, like do you feel like you had someone else, like do you feel like you had at least the opportunity to let those things out before you were in that moment with Carl? Or do you feel like it was just you had a good opportunity to have someone listen and you just kind of gave it to them?
Honestly, my fiance was actually, because I told her all at the time we were together at this time. This wasn't super long ago. We had been together for probably about 9 or 10 months at this point. And like she was like, I told her that I've had a really bad day. My family life is blowing up. I am at a bar that's like 2 miles from your house. Like, can you just come get me and can I just crash at your place? Because I am so not in a good space right now. And it was literally in that like hour and a half that she got off of work and came to collect me that I was sitting there bonding with this gentleman. And yeah, it was a little bit of both. I didn't really have a whole lot of other people to lean on, and she was working, so I couldn't just like talk all this out with her. And on the other hand, it was it was just kind of a pleasant opportunity. I had a guy sitting here next to me who just was looking to be engaged. One of the big things that like him and I talked about in this conversation was the fact that he was not like, despite everything that he was going through, he was not ready to give up on having these random interactions and talking with people and meeting new people. He a widower. He lived alone. And so he didn't have a lot of social interaction, and he just wanted to be out in the world. He didn't really want anything in particular. He just wanted to feel like a person in society. So yeah, in short, to answer your question, Victor, I'd say it was a little bit of both. Yeah.
Yeah.
That guy was invulnerable for sure.
Yeah. For real.
I'm sorry,
like,
say that again, Jesus. I didn't really catch that.
I said the guy you were talking to, he was invulnerable for sure. He had no issue opening up. That's
Not even a little bit. It was like, and it's weird that is like that is a memory that I really appreciate having, you know, like that is something that I really enjoyed in the moment. Because he was such a relief to me. I felt like I was providing him some sort of similar service, and it's a weird random encounter that is going to stick with me for a really, really long time.
it sounded like he was being vulnerable, but also really like optimistic. You know what I mean? Like he could have been in the bar drinking, but instead he was in the bar connecting, right?
Yeah.
And it reminds me of this video. I don't think it was this class, but there was this video I had to watch once that was talking about stress and how stress, like, what do you call it? It asks for connection. You know, if you're someone stressed, like your body's response is to want to seek connection. And if I can find it, I'll send that out to y'all as well. What I put for this prompt was I was just going to give this prompt an opportunity for me to be more vulnerable, because we had a icebreaker. I think it was module 2, maybe. Which one was the story that we had to share that like shaped our leadership or shaped our personal life, maybe?
Mhm.
Yeah.
And I think the only thing that I think I really held back on was that, like, one, for me, inclusion is so important. And the reason why inclusion as the leadership values is really important, because I don't want anyone to ever feel like left out. Like that's, for me, just something that's really important to me. And the reason why is because like I grew up, you know, getting bullied a lot growing up, all the way through like high school almost. So because of that, when I became a leader, like that was just something.
We're losing you.
And that if I ever knew I was ever, can you hear me now? Can you hear me now?
Yes, you're coming back. Yes.
Okay, that's weird. Sorry. No, I didn't know if I was ever in charge of a group. Like that's just the one value that I really leaned heavy on, is I wanted everyone to have an opportunity to feel included, to not feel ever like left out or ever feel like I hate seeing people get bullied. You know, I hate seeing people get treated differently. And so just that's why I think leadership I was so gravitated towards, because I could control that. Like I feel like I had more control, and if I ever saw anyone you know, act in the opposite direction of that, like I could stop it, or I could have a conversation with them and coach it. So that was it. Like that was kind of like my last, like all I was holding back for this class. So I just thought this would be a good opportunity for me to be vulnerable and share it a little bit.
Well, thank you for sharing.
Yeah.
We can't hear you, Lorena.
Lorena, you're on mute.
I had to do that this meeting, of course. I was going to say that this reminds me of one of the icebreakers we had, I think, previously, where we talked about how a past experience affects how we react and respond to people now.
That was it.
That's precisely what you're identifying.
That was it. So like I had, for that icebreaker, I had 2 stories.
Yeah.
And so one was my like more vulnerable story, and one was my like kind of less vulnerable story. And I went with the less vulnerable one in that moment. But so I was like, you know what? I feel like this is a sign. I should just put it out there. So anyways, I appreciate y'all listening to that.
Absolutely.
Yeah, no, thank you for sharing.
Appreciate you sharing, man.
I think everyone shared this prompt, right?
Yes.
You did.
Yeah, awesome. Okay. So the next prompt was the GWU assessment of team performance and learning. The discussion was, how well has your team really done with assessing yourselves at the end of this meeting? What would you have done differently if I had this reading list earlier in the course? I am going to call out. I'm going to go ahead and call out first that this was in module 2. The same. It was. I think the same exact link was in like module 2, I believe.
Right.
But so how well? Let's ask our assessor. How well are we doing with assessing?
I said I think that we've been open and honest, you know, at any point in assessing anything. I think we've been doing fine. What do you guys think?
I said that we've been pretty neutral as well. Like we're calling each other out on the few mistakes that we've each made through pretty much every meeting. There's been like a hiccup or two. We've addressed it. We've moved on. I think part of the second half of the question was like, if it would have improved our assessment, if we would have received like tips and tricks or things on how to assess better. And I think it would have. At least would have made us more aware of like things to look for and how to overcome it.
And I'd said maybe if we had read this way sooner on, we could have like come up with a specific goals that we wanted to accomplish in the meetings or something, you know?
Right.
That was really all I had seen.
I kind of said the opposite of that if we had this reading earlier, because I feel like we wouldn't be as aware, just because I think we understand each other a little bit more and kind of have a better view of how like our conversations go. I'm not saying that they're all like the same, but I think we just have a better understanding overall that we would have been more vague before. If that makes sense.
Yeah, I can see that. I wrote that we have done a good job assessing the team's performance. However, there's always room for improvement. Like I think the area where we could do better, and obviously this is related to the assessment and how we assess things at the end. I think in the process, challenging a little bit more. I think we challenge, but not as much as we should, because then at the end, we can sort of analyze, could we have done some things better? And did we really challenge some of the ideas? I think as time has gone by, I think we've done that. We've done a better job of doing some of that. And, I want to give Lorena credit here because I wrote on here that, as we've spent more time together, we have also done a good job with holding each other accountable. And I think Lorena is probably one of the ones that has done a better job with holding us accountable to certain things. She's done it with me. She's done it with Tatiana. So she's done that. So I appreciate that.
She definitely was timekeeping when I was a timekeeper. So thank you.
Oh. We're at an hour. We're at an hour. Exactly. Perfect.
Perfect time. Jacob, what do you think, man?
I feel like we would have done a better job assessing these meetings had we read through something like that beforehand. But I also, to kind of play both sides of the fence here, I feel like had we known to like, these are how we're going to be assessing, and this is kind of the criteria, and this is the standard and stuff of that nature, I feel like we wouldn't have made the mistakes that led us to learn that lesson the hard way, because I'm a believer in experience is going to trump anything that you can learn out of a textbook or off of a GW page or anything like that. So I definitely think that making the mistakes that made this team experience what it is are just as important as how we assess the content and the quality of our discussion of the content.
So
I feel like I kind of rambled a little bit.
No, I think that makes a lot of sense. Like one thing I tell my team, they're my supervisors. I'm the store manager, so like I'm kind of in charge of the whole store overall, right? So I'm like, you'll have a great opportunity to make mistakes. Like it's a pretty safe environment, or what's the word, like kind of low risk environment to make mistakes, because if they do make a mistake, I'm there to support them. Like I'm there to help them. And especially like I tell this to my leaders that want to be a store manager, and I'm like, look, make mistakes now. Like go ahead and take a little bit more ownership, because I'm here to support you. Like when you have your own store, you're not going to have that support. And I think this class is a good example of that. Like this is a low risk environment because we're not actually leading a team that's responsible for like money, right? And so we can make mistakes here and we can get feedback and give each other feedback. And it's okay, because at the end of the day, like, do we go home, we go to our real jobs, and then we, implement what we learned here. So I think I put kind of the same things everyone else had said. The only thing that I think we could do, I don't know if we've been as purposeful about, is when I think of the assessments, I kind of think of it as a goal, right? And for any goal, I think for a team, it needs to tie up to the team, like the team purpose, right? So I don't know if we've actually been purposeful, like putting our assessments up against our team, the purpose we had in our team charter. So I kind of went back to the team charter and I looked, and the purpose was to collaborate on course materials and assignments, submit all projects to Dr. Chanley, completed and on time. So that being said, our criteria today is controlled discussion, discussion, controlled and managed, and also starting and ending on time. So do y'all feel like that assessment or that criteria matches up with our purpose?
I definitely feel like the first one does. The second one I think is important, and I definitely think is valid. But I feel like it, in certain contexts, I'm not saying that it does at all times, and every time we've done that as a criteria has been bad or anything like that. But I definitely feel like if we are limiting our discussion because of time and because we, one of our criteria is, well, we got to get done on time. I feel like that could kind of detract away from our purpose.
What are y'all's thoughts on that?
I agree, but I think also sometimes it's important to keep in mind time, because we could get carried away on a discussion and then it just kind of goes down a rabbit hole and you're like, oh man, we're an hour and a half into this and we've only gone through 2 questions and now we have to get through the rest of it. So I think there's a positive and negative to that one, but just like Jake said, I do think it's important.
I agree.
There's definitely been some content discussions that took, or even assignment discussions that took longer than 2 hours, but then also there's been some that were shorter, right? So
I had a really long meeting, but if you recall, we had to cover like 2 additional agendas. And I know, poor Elaine, you were like, I got to get my kid. And I'm like, I know, let's try and wrap this up. But we had to go through, we had to cover like 3 different components that particular meeting. So I apologize for that.
No,
I was
it's
trying
okay.
to cram it all in. We were 2 hours and 15 minutes.
Maybe one thing we can try today then would be like, look at our next meeting and then decide, hey, does that meeting need to be an hour and a half? Does that meeting need to be 2 hours and a half? And maybe just be a little more purposeful. What we did at the beginning was we just set all the meetings for 2 hours. But I think in hindsight, we probably could have adjusted some. Where some we probably knew we might have needed more time. And maybe we didn't know until like the week before, but we still could have made that adjustment.
I think depending, like you said, on the agenda, it's going to fluctuate. I say at, 2 hours, sure, that could be our norm. But then if it goes less, if it goes a little longer, it's probably because it has to.
Yeah.
I think too, we're learning. So like at the beginning, we didn't know what a 4-prompt discussion was going to look like, or compared to a 7-prompt discussion. But like this one, it's a 5-prompt discussion. And so we're already on the second to last prompt, one more prompt, discuss, and then finish out the meeting, so, we probably could be done in the next 30 minutes at the most, Something to think about.
You also have to keep in mind, we still have to go over the agenda for the next meeting, those assessments that we have to do for the next meeting, which could take a while. So it's always important to keep in mind too, like we have to review what's going to happen next time. And that also takes an additional 10 to 20 minutes.
And the additional roles, or like what our roles are, just as a review. Yep.
Yeah. All right. Y'all feeling good about this prompt?
Yep.
All right.
Well, good.
All right. So last one. So it was the personalities that benefit the most from remote work, that article. And the prompt was, what can you take from this article that will help you the most with virtual teamwork in the future? Who wants to kick us off? Go ahead.
I'll go. Give me a second. My, one of I'm trying to get to my note here, but my computer just froze. But I'll go by memory. A couple things. So, like, in the beginning of the article, it talks about, how meeting people now we're in this virtual environment, and as teams have been put together, a team that has not worked together in the past is probably gonna not is probably I don't remember if it said that it was gonna fail or it's gonna take them a long time to to become a successful team. And I think that's the situation that I had not only last year with my previous team. We some of them had worked together for some time, but all in different places. And then my new team, we were put together just this past January, and then I'm gone for 6 weeks, right? So I felt like my team was in sort of that place where, we bring them together, but they don't really know each other. They're all working individually from home, so it's a pretty tough situation to be in. But my biggest takeaways from this are how can I bring my team together and make them feel like they're doing some of the things that you do in an office environment, right? Like they talked about, like, that water cooler time. It also talks about, some of the extroverts, right? That they flourish when they're in a office environment because they're talking to somebody. You get noticed by so-and-so, somebody's passing by, you have a conversation. By the way, that's very much who I am in the office. I'm having conversations with many different people, and I enjoy that. So, like, here in this virtual environment, like, sometimes for me it's a little tough because I find myself like, who do I call? Like, like, even after I have a meeting, I'm like, I want to have a conversation with someone. And so it made me think about, what things can I do with my team to improve camaraderie and how well we can work together as a virtual team. And I like the two things that they shared about some of the things that some other teams are doing. Like, I really like the idea of the stand-up meetings and the virtual coffee chats, like not making those things mandatory, but like, hey, look, let's just have a, off the cuff conversation about, some of the things that are happening with you. Like, hey, tell me what are you doing today? What's the plan for today? Right. Not to question what they're doing. Right. But let's share. Right. Because I think that's when you figure out, like, you're not the only one that's having an issue with something. Your peers might have an answer to that issue, because that's what happens when you're in the office, right? You're passing by somebody's cubicle and, hey, how's it going? You kind of BS for a little bit, but then next thing you know, you're like, oh, what are you working on? Oh, I got this problem. Oh, you should talk to so-and-so, because so-and-so can help you with, resolve that. We're missing that today. And I think, at least for my team, I think that's something that I need to incorporate to build on the virtual team environment, because who knows how much longer we're going to be in this thing, right? Like, a lot of people keep saying, well, when things reopen, like, who even knows when that will happen?
Yeah. No, yeah. I mean, the stand-up meetings, water cooler, like you touched on a lot of good points. I wanted to just throw out there, like, for what I do, right? The whole time you're talking, I was like, we had that problem even before, like, we were a virtual team.
Yeah.
But because we're a remote team, so I never really equated the two. But I think it's a lot of the same problems. Like, every store manager works in a different store, obviously. So, like, for our team, like, we don't work in the same office or the same building. We work in the same district, but we don't have a water cooler. Like, the water cooler is the phone. Pick up the phone. Hey, how are you doing? What are you working on? And it's a lot of the same issues. So even when this is over, I'm thinking about, like, how do we keep the connections going? Like, how do we keep the water cooler? And maybe in a weird way, the virtual does, like, help with that. I don't know.
To build on that, one of the notes that I had, and I pulled it right out of the article, was make those informal conversations and exchanges, making those a little bit more formal, like actually, like, putting on your calendar, at 3:00, I'm going to call, Victor and I are going to have a little virtual chat, and it's going to be that water cooler talk, and it's going to be just chatting, checking in and seeing how you're doing and stuff like that. I think that's something that could really benefit the virtual work environment that we're kind of going through right now, because I feel like those chance encounters, Victor, you're just happen to be walking by, if we're working the same office building, you just happen to walk by my office and I call you and, hey, well, what's up, man? Like, that's all well and good. And that's cool that that's a way that we can show that we care about the people we work with. But I definitely think that clearing, just a half hour off of somebody's schedule just to have a one-on-one virtual meeting with them to talk about what's going on in their life, to what are some things you're struggling with. I think that's a little bit more impactful. So I think that's something that can kind of benefit.
Can I ask y'all? I'm just gonna take a little bit for a second. Can I ask y'all, do y'all's companies encourage this? Like, do y'all's companies that y'all work for currently, do they encourage like a water cooler moment?
For sure.
Yeah.
We have I run the Grubhub team building events virtually. Like, managers reach out to me. They set up team buildings via Grubhub for their teams. I mean, even like in Texas, our office is in person for the command center, and they reach out, hey, we want to do a team building, this is going on. Can you order us lunch? For sure. Let's order a team lunch. We're doing an employee appreciation event next month. So, I mean, we're big on engagement, and we think it's really important for the employees to build these relationships with each other, within their teams and within the company in general.
I think.
Go ahead.
No, go ahead.
No, go ahead. No, you go first.
Okay. I was gonna say, this is like what makes me love HR so much. Like, this is why I want to go into it, because it's the fact that you actually value it and want to. Okay, one thing is valuing it, but another thing is actually incorporating it into the community. And I mean, just I guess to answer your question, Victor, on for my company, I feel like I've actually been doing that a lot lately. It's not encouraged, but it's not not said, if that makes sense. It's not really something that's it's whatever. I actually, because I think it personally benefits me too, I like to walk outside of my office, go downstairs, literally touch base a few times a day, and see how everything's going with people's workflows, because at the end of the day we're all working together. But also I want to see how are you, do you need to take a break or whatever it is. And it's nice, that for me is a break, being able to just connect with somebody on whatever it is. And it's something, I told you guys before, I assumed this position kind of unexpectedly, that I've been very conscious to apply that and kind of keep it going, because I've definitely seen the mood and the work habits change for the better. It's definitely changed.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Thanks for sharing that love, Tatiana. Keep that going.
Yeah.
So Elaine, let me ask you this, because we have encouraged it, and some teams practice those types of events more than others.
Totally.
But the challenge has been we don't want to make these feel like a mandatory meeting that you have to show up to. I mean, that's the biggest. I haven't done it as much as other teams, because it's we have meetings all day long, and now I have to have a meeting to come and have lunch in front of the camera with you guys. Is that's the challenging part. But I did sort of the, from the article, I like, how they put the stand-up meetings or the coffee. I thought about having the coffee break meeting, where I say, look, I'm going to put an invite, randomly, a couple times per week, and feel free to join if you want. If you don't want to, then don't join. Maybe I'm the only one on the call, but if you want to have just a one-off conversation, let's do it. But what has been your experience?
We have the same thing. We have people that are oh, we don't want to do that. I already spend all this time, now we're remote and I have to deal with them, and so for us it's look, We're going to give you the opportunity. We're telling you the company's going to pay $20. We're going to pick up your Grubhub bill. And then, you get the people that complain and are like, $20 not enough for a meal. I have to pay my tip by myself. Oh, and it's like, hey, the company's paying $20 for you to get lunch. I mean, if you're eating lunch at home, you're probably making a turkey sandwich and drinking a glass of water that's worth $2, like,
Yeah.
but anyways, don't get me started on that. But so for us, we leave it open, and it's like, look, we're providing you with these opportunities. We hope that you guys take advantage of them. This is all that we're doing. We're listening to your feedback. You're saying you want to be engaged. You're saying you want this. We're providing it. And if they come back at the next pulse survey we do, and they say that they're still not getting these things, then we come back with the data and we say, look, we did this Grubhub team building event and we had 300 out of 500 US employees join this event. So, that's just one example of how we're trying to provide opportunities for you. So
Grubhub lets you buy for all those team members individually and ship them their food?
So there's a few different ways, but you can get a Grubhub corporate account, which is awesome. And then it's company built. And all I do is I go and assign amounts to people with their company email. And they log into Grubhub with their company email. They see they have this $20 credit, or, we do extra ones for birthdays, like, especially the higher level you're in, the more you get. So,
that's awesome.
Yeah, super cool.
Really cool.
Is there a fee for that?
No.
No?
It's free.
Because I'm even thinking just like my team, like we could do that. Like I have 4 partners on my team, or my leadership team. Like that's super easy. Like, I wouldn't mind.
Well, if you're doing it just yourself, that wouldn't be a corporate account. That would probably just be like buy gift cards.
No, you're right.
If it's something you're interested in, like you should reach out to your HR team or whoever handles that kind of engagement and suggest it.
I like that.
Lorena, you've been quiet.
Oh, I'm listening. I've experienced the same thing as Elaine, so
Yeah.
that's why I'm like, yep, been there, done that, heard that.
Yeah.
I mean, what can you do?
It doesn't change. You're always going to have complainers, and
they're going to have the super
is.
appreciative ones that are like, oh my God, we got
love
$20.
The best thing ever. Yeah. And then you have the whiny ones that just, you can never please them. So yeah.
All right. I'm sorry I digressed a little bit, y'all. I was curious because like Starbucks it's kind of the same way. Like they really, it depends on who you are, right? If like you're in a salary leadership position, then they're like, yeah, you need to go like build relationships with other managers and reach out. But if you're on the floor, it's like time to lean, time to clean. Like, what are you doing? Like, stop having a conversation. So, but I try to create that space. Like the thing is, what I tell my team is like, look, like the labor is what it is. That's not going to change. But if you hurry up, get the work done, get the customers out, the source clean, then yeah, we can do a coffee tasting. We could kind of joke around for a little bit. So I try to encourage it, but our labor at Starbucks runs pretty tight labor. I don't know if y'all knew that, but we keep it like 18%. All right, cool. So let's see here. This discussion prompts. Who hasn't shared yet? Tatiana, do you want to go next?
For what? Wait.
For the personalities article, the personalities that benefit the most from remote work.
Oh, okay. This is like what we've been talking about, right? We're all the same. Okay. Well, when Jesus, you were talking about doing like the virtual, like setting those kinds of things up, something from the article that stood out to me was that those kinds of things, even though they're not work related, they like make you feel a part of the team. And that's like also where you're starting to like build support because you're like making the effort to like want to connect with this person.
You hold on, you cut out.
The whole line?
Like the last little bit. At least for me. No, for me, I don't know if it was the same thing for everyone else.
Okay, well, I said, and it's like that's where you like kind of build support because
Yeah.
for each other, because you're taking time and effort to connect when it's not even like required. But yeah, something like that.
Yeah, I've seen store managers that don't reach out, and then those store managers usually like fail. You know, like the ones that like need the most help are the ones that like won't go get it. And I don't know, like, how do we fix that? Because I've even offered, like, I've had other peers where like I've tried to do exactly like what Jesus would do. Like I'll just go over and just like try to chat, but it's like some are just so disengaged that it's like almost like, why are you here? Am I busting you? Like, you know?
Yeah. You know, like the yeah, I mean, that's a question that I have. And like it's like with my previous team, I had a situation where I was before, you know, COVID, I was encouraging 2 team members to go into the office because I had my team, 4 team members were in Chicago, 2 in Wisconsin and 2 in Minnesota. And so I encouraged the 2 in Minnesota and the 2 in Wisconsin, like, go to your office every time you have a team meeting. And they were just not, I don't, you know, the office is, you know, 25 miles from my house. And it was like, yeah, but, you know, there's a benefit to that, right? You get to talk to some of the people in that office that, again, are encountering maybe some of the same things you're encountering. Maybe they can share some best practices. In your case, you know, it's, you know, sharing some of the things that are making each other's store successful. It's like, you're really missing out on those things. But, you know, I no matter what, I couldn't get them to, they were doing it, but just to make me happy, not because they really thought there was a benefit to it. But by the way, these were some of the team members that were failing, like literally failing. Like they had one foot out the door and one at Verizon, and so ultimately they ended up leaving. But I think you have to be willing to do that yourself, you know, to participate and do those things without someone else telling you to do those things. Right? Yeah.
I just think about the ones that, like you said, the ones that are failing and that don't want to reach out. Like, how do you, as their leader or even as their peer, like how do you get them to want to reach out? You know,
Yeah.
like that's something I've been struggling with my whole career.
I know. Yeah. Same here, man. It's like, you know, it's like I have a couple peers who I talk to all the time, and they're not even in my same group anymore. But we share things all the time. Like, you know, sometimes it's just to call and say, like, man, like this more earlier today, I had a forecast call, and you know, something happened, and, you know, I was a bit frustrated. So afterwards, I called my peer and, you know, sort of you know, let everything out, and, you know, how frustrated I was, and, you know, I had a long day, and, you know, he gave me a little bit of comfort because, like, oh, you know, the same thing is happening to me. But, you know, it's like this, it helped with me feeling a little bit better about my situation and the fact that I was not the only one in that situation. And, you know, we gave each other feedback about some of the things we could do. But again, because we both reached out, but then I have another peer who just, no matter, I call them and they never call me back. So it's like that person, you don't really reach out to them because they're not willing to do the same.
Mm-hmm. Elaine or Lorena, do you have anything else you wanted to add? You're on mute.
Yeah.
Of course. The only other thing that I just put in here that, I mean, I pretty much mentioned the same stuff that you guys did was just adaptability. I mean, we're all in this kind of boat together, virtual boat, I guess. We just have to compromise and work together and keep in mind the common end goal. So
Yeah.
I think hopefully that would encourage everybody to participate actively and do what they need to, whether it's virtual or in person. But
yeah, how for those teams, real quick, you know, sort of on topic but off topic. I know Lorena and Elaine, how long are your company's going to keep you guys working in like remote, you know, because I know I read an article that said like Google is saying like as of May, they're encouraging a bunch of people to go back. You know, we're starting to sort of say that, look, you know, some for some people, you know, maybe June, you know, that, but nothing official. So I don't think that's gonna. We keep pushing it. So I think we're gonna push it. But what about for you guys?
Here's the interesting part is that aside from the sales side of the John Deere, of course, we have a shop. So we actually have, you know, huge bays where this equipment comes in, and we have technicians. For the most part, we've got our parts department, our service departments, sales. Only the admin folk were actually encouraged and allowed to work from home. Everybody else had to come in. We just had to, you know, rearrange things, have this new protocol and whatnot for everyone who was actually on the floor and whoever was you know, any of the techs that we had. So this will probably continue for us, probably indefinitely, because we know now that it works, and if we need to go into the office for any reason, we can. But
You can, yeah, cool.
And we are already in the process of going back. So we have offices in Texas, Indiana, Minnesota, and California. And Minnesota and Indiana have already returned their smaller offices. And then Texas, some people are already in the office. Our command center, it's important that they are in the office working from there, not from their homes. But they started to transition, and we'll kind of do the return to work in phases. So Texas will phase them in like 3 phases until they're back full time. And then we haven't started returning to the office in California yet due to the strict guidelines. And also because of those strict guidelines, like HR does not want to be responsible for all of the requirements for reporting. If there are positive cases that are work related in the office.
yeah, that's a pain.
Yeah.
So we're slowly coming up with a phased approach for California offices to return, but we assume that to begin in June.
Oh wow, cool.
We
Victor,
even added like an additional like sick time policy specific for COVID, just to accommodate in case somebody was actually positive.
oh wow.
So it's definitely hard, but like I said, we're considered an essential business, so everybody continue to work if they were on the floor, or the technicians, and then admin. Some of the sales folks were able to work from home, but we will probably in HR continue to just keep it flexible. And we have private offices, but you know.
Okay, cool. Well, thanks for sharing.
Yep.
Victor, and for you guys, you know, for Starbucks, I want to say, you know, thank you for keeping my coffee flowing, man, because you guys never closed. You guys were like, you know, so good. Thank you, and keep it going.
Yeah, we never worked from home. That was never a thing. And then the people that work from home, you know, it's crazy. Like when everything first happened, you know, the impression was like my district, all the field leaders, none of the field leaders went inside stores for a long time, for a while. And like we would have, you know, conference calls from like upper level management, like all the way up to like the C-suite, like CEO and everything. And but they would all be taking these calls from their home instead of at the office. And there was a lot of resentment at the beginning from partners that are like, well, we have to be here. Why aren't they here? Like, why aren't they still coming to work? You know?
Yeah.
And my leader was, you know, honestly, she got really salty. Like she got really defensive. And I was just, and she just like, this is a good example of like not looking into someone else's perspective. Cause she was like, well, I don't have a, you know, a strainer in front of me, the machine, right? I don't have a register in front of me. Why do I need to be here? Like, I have no purpose. That's just an extra person. And I'm like, well, yeah, but you're leading this team, right? Like you're supposed to be a leader for this team. So like we're expected to be here. Like we all be in it together, you know? And that's but I don't know. That was just an interesting time. Since then, you know, obviously like the field leaders had to go into the stores eventually. Like they couldn't just not, like part of their job is to assess and you know what I mean, and to lead.
Yeah.
And you really just can't do that. You can't assess a store from you know,
From your house.
From your house. Yeah. That really didn't last long. I mean, it lasted long enough for people to get upset, but it didn't, you know, it quickly subsided once reality kicked in.
Yeah.
You know what's funny? Okay, one thing is that it's an hour and a half, just by the way. But a year ago, I was actually working at Starbucks too. And you know what was really frustrating was being a partner during all that, during the onset and everything, but then getting emails from the people, obviously the people up there. And it's like, I feel like it was just, I don't know, I felt very, I get that they're different positions, but it's just hard. Like, why are you saying that this and this? It's like, you're not here in the moment. Like, you don't know what people are going, like what partners are going through. You know what I mean? It's like, it's frustrating hearing somebody say all this when, I mean, at least in my store, like nothing was like really happening, you know?
So one thing I'll share with that, and I think this is reality, right? This is just like being honest, is that culturally, like you think about, we're called partners, right? So the partners, you know, it's for a couple of different reasons. One, we get like stock in the company, right? So we're partners in that sense. But two, like they want to create this culture of like, well, it doesn't matter what position you're in, like the CEO or store manager, like no matter what like your title is, we always put your title in lowercase letters. So whether it's CEO or store manager, barista, it's always supposed to be in a lowercase letter because we're all just playing a different role. Like it's the same job, you know, mission and values and all that, right? But it's you're just playing a different role, but you're still expected to work together, like 360 degree coaching and all that, right? But what would happen is like when our CEO would come into stores, or like even like just our regional director, it's a perfect example. So just one level up from the district manager is our, you know, regional director. Even when they would come into stores for planned visits, at least in my experience, the district manager would come to the store, you know, make you spend more labor than you've ever been allowed to spend to clean the store, tell you all the things that you can't say, and don't embarrass me, so that we can have a good visit, right?
Yeah.
So if you're the person in charge, like if you're the partner that's like responsible for making these decisions, you don't really know what's going on. You're not really given a fair opportunity to understand, because the person who should be responsible for telling you hasn't given a fair opportunity to tell you. So I've noticed that has changed since we've been doing virtual, is that our regional vice president now does meetings with the supervisors. So they'll do like every like month, they've been doing like connects with like, you know, maybe one supervisor from every area in the region. And so I don't know, I think that might be why, because I think they understood like that it's a show every time they come in.
That's retail, man, for sure.
Yeah.
Make the store look good.
Yeah,
exactly.
Coming in.
Yeah, but then it's just I don't want to go. We'll finish this up, and then that might be another day. But Tatiana, I'm sorry you had that experience, because I understand like where you're coming from 100%. But you know, yeah, it's large corporations. There's always going to be that like the politics of it, you know, unfortunately, which is our job as leaders to change that, right?
Yeah, very true.
You got it.
The last thing
organization will have politics. It's how to navigate them effectively within that organization.
Yeah. So I think the only thing I'm the last person to share for this prompt specifically. The one thing I think that I put in here that might be a little different is just a structure. Like I had, so like I shared I'm on the board with the YMCA, and that's actually been really fun. They're pretty well organized. There's some things they could do differently, but overall they're getting the job done. I'm also part of the Pride Partner Network at Starbucks, and less organized. A lot of the meetings end up being just like emails, you know, where we could just like read this instead of reading out loud. And I think that's all due to not having like clear structure. Like if you're we call it like an area, like an activator. So activators are like the store managers. So if you're an activator, like you don't really know what your role is. Like no one's really giving you any empowerment or responsibility. And so like it's kind of a joke, like the district managers are kind of the leaders of these groups, but the district managers have never, like they've never put out together an event ever. They always like rely on store managers to do it. And even some of like, for me as a store manager, like I rely on my shift team to do it, to be honest. So I think it's just kind of like, that's a reason why I think a lot of our networks are really inactive, is because the people who probably are best equipped to lead events aren't given the responsibility to do so, but it's not clearly laid out. So to answer the prompt, just like with different personalities, if you just have the role, the structure there, roles, responsibilities, and like how we're going to communicate, I think that's got to be the first step. Because no matter what your personality is, if you are extroverted, if you're not empowered to make a decision, then you're not going to be able to, right? All right. So anyone want to add anything to this discussion prompts? No? Cool.
No, but I do want to apologize. I didn't realize that from when I switched to my phone that my camera has been off for here the whole time. So just want to take a moment to apologize about that, guys. Doc, sorry.
That's funny.
You know, I just thought that maybe whatever you're using, we couldn't screen share. But welcome back, Jacob.
All good, man.
All good. Exactly. Life goes on. Okay, so next meeting. Tatiana's our host. I'm the facilitator still. Tatiana also is a timekeeper. Jesus is the challenger. Elaine is the jokes, and Lorena has notes. Did I get that right?
Yes.
Awesome. Let's see here. The only thing we need to do to get prepared for that meeting is our self and teammate evaluations.
Yep.
So a part of that is, I think, deciding who is going to evaluate who, so that everyone gets like at least 2 articles of feedback from everyone. So how does anyone have any suggestions on how we should go about like deciding who gets who? Do we want to do like yeah, what do y'all think?
So we're only doing one other person. No.
2.
Or 2 other people.
Yeah, I think 2, because I think the idea is like, so if it's my turn, I'm gonna give my self-assessment and then an assessment for one other person. Let's say it's Jesus. So then whoever else assessed Jesus as well, then would give the assessment. But then when let's say it's Jacob, right? So then Jacob gives his assessment of Jesus. But when it's actually Jacob's turn, then Jacob will give his self-assessment and then the assessment of someone else other than Jesus. Does that make sense?
I think I kind of get it. So
You kinda get
yeah, so whoever would like start with the assessments, they'd lead with themselves and then go with their first person. And then whoever else had that person, they would go with their self-assessment and then go with the second person. And then that second person would do, no, okay, I'm lost.
So you would do your self-assessment, and then whoever assessed you would also give you 1 point. Each person's going to give 1 point of positive feedback. So you would give your self-assessment, and then the 2 people who assessed you would each give you 1 point of feedback. And then we move to the next person.
Gotcha.
So one person is assessing themselves and another person.
2 people.
2 people.
You are assessing yourself and 2 other people.
So 3 people.
Well, sure.
I
If
mean,
you count it that way.
Yeah.
So how are we choosing?
So yeah, how do we want to choose, I guess?
I've got dice.
Perfect.
I like
Do it.
that. How
I
do
need
we- how
a
do we
person
include
in
the
number
rest?
1 through 6.
Yeah,
All right.
let's do it that way. So yeah, Victor, assign in to each one of us.
I'm gonna.
Okay.
Okay.
So I'll
cool.
go. I had a list here, and I'll just go down the list.
Cool.
Okay. So then Tatiana will be 1, Elaine will be 2, Jake will be 3, Lorena will be 4, Jesus will be 5, and I guess I'll be 6.
Okay.
Did everyone get that?
So Jake, you're gonna have to shake it,
Mhm.
right? And then
Yep.
whoever gets, so shake the dice right twice. So you're gonna throw it twice,
Yeah.
and whoever, and you get we based on who gets the number, right? Like right? Is that how we're doing it?
So let's
So,
say
like,
when
we-
it's my turn, roll the dice and see who I land on to see who I'm
Yes.
assigned.
Okay,
Yes.
yeah. So we can start in order too. So I guess let's
Yeah,
start
let's
with.
do that.
Yeah,
Tatiana's
so-
number one, so
Before we get started, Victor, can you run down the numbered list again? So 1 is Tatiana.
Yeah, 1 is
Two is
Tatiana, 2 is Elaine, 3 is Jake, 4 is Lorena, 5 is Jesus, and I'm 6.
5 is Jesus. And Victor is number 6. Okay. And I want you guys to know that I am giving you a special privilege. I am busting out my super awesome matte black dice set just for you
I like
guys.
it.
Normally, I
Nice.
only roll these guys when I want to punish somebody at my group because they're doing stupid things in D&D. Anyways, all right. So Tatiana, your first is didn't hit the table. Yourself, fitting.
So that's
Hey,
one.
Jesus. Hey,
Yeah.
Jacob, hold on. Hey,
And
Jesus, since you're the note taker, can you write these down for us?
Yeah, I can write it down.
Who gets who?
Tatiana gets Victor. And then Elaine.
No, she gets 2
No,
people.
no, she gets 2
Oh,
rolls.
gotta do
two.
one more
Okay.
roll.
And Lorena.
Okay.
All right, so 2 rolls for Elaine. Elaine, you've got Tatiana. And also Lorena. So I'm going to strike Lorena off.
Yep.
And then just speed things up a little bit. I'm going to bust out another die here. All right. Now 2 die for who I'm going to get. I've got Elaine. And Lorena's already out. And Tatiana. All right. So that's
Tatiana's out now, right?
yep. So that's 2 for
So it's
Tatiana.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
All right, Jesus, 2 die here for you. One of them was you, and one of them was Lorena, who's already out. So let's try again here. Jesus, you've got me and Elaine.
Okay.
So now I'm out, right?
Yep.
Well, process of elimination, right? Now, basically, Victor has,
You
Jake.
and Victor, right?
Yep.
yeah,
Yep.
Jake and me, right?
Yep.
Yeah, so I'm gonna have you and Victor. That's correct?
Yes, that is correct.
Hold on. Right now. So again, Victor has Jake
Mm-hmm.
and me, right?
Yes, sir.
And Lorena has,
Oh man, I messed my notes all up. I didn't do it right.
So we're gonna have you has, well, I guess there were 3 people, so I don't know. I could just do Jesus Victor.
Yeah, actually, no, yeah, that would work. Yep, yeah, that would work.
I feel like I feel like someone's missing because Tatiana had me also.
I don't think I rolled for Lorena. Lorena, did I roll for you?
oh no, hold on. So 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2. No, we're good. We're good.
Okay.
Everybody
Lorena
has 2 team. Everybody's being evaluated twice. So we're good.
Who is Lorena evaluating?
Lorena
I'm
is evaluating self and Victor.
Yep, Jesus and Victor.
Yeah, Victor
Yeah.
is evaluating Jake and myself. I'm evaluating Jake and Elaine. Jake is evaluating Elaine and Tatiana. Elaine is evaluating Tatiana and Lorena. And Tatiana is evaluating Victor and Lorena.
Awesome. Cool. That was fun. Thanks, Jake.
Yeah. Any chance I get to bust out the
Finally,
shiny clip lines?
you got to show us your D&D gear
Yep.
that you talked about early on.
Yeah. I don't know how well versed you guys are in D&D culture, but one's dice hoard is a point of great pride.
Oh yeah. You're the
I've never-
second person that I meet that plays D&D.
Cool.
So-
So I'm the second awesome person. All right. I like it.
So in our stores, right, like we're kind of proud because for someone who's gotten COVID, if they work inside a Starbucks, like we put everyone on a self-isolation who work with that partner, right? But no one has gotten COVID from working with another partner who had COVID. Does that make sense? Like no one's
Yeah.
like gotten sick because they like worked a shift with someone who like later we found out they had COVID, right? At least not in our, I don't know, maybe in another district or area, like we only have 12 stores I'm talking about, but at least in my district, that hasn't happened. But Jake, we had like 5 partners
Mhm.
all get COVID because they played D&D together from the same store.
So
So-
the dice, man, that's how they got it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They're sharing dice. That's
sharing
why
dice.
Everybody went like this, whoosh, roll the dice, and then everybody got it.
Yeah, that's why actually the first couple weeks that it hit, we decided that we were going to be socially responsible nerds, and we played Dungeons and Dragons online for the first like 3 months of COVID.
That's funny.
Yeah, that's awesome. All right, cool. So then the agenda for the next meeting, we're gonna have an intro, jokey. We're gonna confirm our readiness, do a self-assessment, then do a one teammate and then second response, and then review the next meeting, and then host will submit the meeting.
Cool.
All right. So does anyone have any other thoughts they want to add to this meeting in particular?
When you said-
Tatiana raised her hand.
Go ahead, Tatiana. I'm so sorry. I was looking at my notes. Go ahead,
Oh my God.
Tatiana.
I forgot to take that down, but I do have a question. I forgot my question. I'll ask when I remember. Totally forgot.
Yeah,
Group
you're the only
text.
person for the thoughts. All right, yeah, group text. Any questions for Dr. Chanley? No. Assessor, please assess.
You're muted.
You're on mute.
Sorry, I didn't want you guys hearing me sneezing the whole time. Was the discussion properly controlled and managed? I feel like we did well. What do you guys think? I think we stayed on topic most of the time.
Mhm.
I think so.
I digressed a little bit on the last prompt, so I'll apologize for that. I'll
I
put it on
know
the-
Victor couldn't resist the
I
urge.
couldn't hold it in. I'm
You
sorry.
want to give him a strike?
I actually really appreciate Victor's follow-up questions. I feel like it allowed for a lot more in-depth conversation. So
Thank you.
that was
He
great.
did a good job as the
Facilitator.
facilitator. Yes.
Yeah, I agree with that.
I didn't think it through, but I think next week's going to be our most like maybe awkward, giving feedback to each other. And
But
I
it's
should've-
we're only giving the positive feedback to each other. So I don't
Oh, okay.
think it's gonna be too awkward. It's
Good.
not like
Well,
they were
then-
calling somebody out. Like, yeah.
No, I was just thinking like, if we have everyone's got to, take the feedback well. So but I don't want to facilitate that one. But no, I guess you're right. If we're doing nothing but positive feedback, then that'll be a fun meeting for sure.
Cool.
All right, Tatiana, did you remember that question? I'll give you one more chance.
No, I totally voided it. If I remember it, I'll reach out in the text.
All right, cool.
Thanks.
All right, you want to sign us off?
Me?
All right. I guess
Yeah,
we'll
you're our
see
host.
everybody.
Yep.
See you guys later.
All right, bye everybody. Have a good night.